Evening and welcome to Fort Mitchell City Council. I'm Mayor Jude Heeman, and we are live streaming here for April the 13th, 2020 council meeting. And obviously we're all safely and healthy at home. And to call roll and call to order tonight, I'm just going to do microphone checks with everybody, and that way that we can have the roll. So I'm going to start in no particular order. Vicki Berger. If you unmute and make sure that we can hear you.
Present.
Present. Greg Polgears.
Present.
All right. Kim Knockhazel.
Here.
Jerry Dethridge.
Present.
Mary Burns.
Here.
Mike Steckel.
Present.
Scott McVeigh.
Here.
All right. We're going to do other microphone checks with Claire Parsons, our city attorney.
I'm here.
Adam Fuller, our chief of fire department.
Here.
No particular order. Amy Gunther.
Here.
Matt Stagman, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Chief Andrew Sherberg.
I'm here.
And of course, Sharmily Reddy.
Here, ma'am.
All right. So we'll use that as our roll, Amy, and everyone is present and they can hear and responding. So in lieu of our Pledge of Allegiance tonight, because we don't have the flag here, I'd like to kind of take a moment of silence for what we're going through with this pandemic and a short prayer.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you protect the sick and the infected, heal those suffering, and contain the spread of this virus. Please watch over our medical professionals, our nurses, caretakers, police, fire, EMT, and all first responders who are putting themselves and their families in harm's way to serve others. We pray for our vulnerable populations, the elderly, and those compromised from other disease. We ask that you provide for the homeless and those unable to care for themselves. For the young and the strong, God, give them the necessary caution to keep them from unwittingly spreading this disease and inspire them to help. We ask that you watch over our local, state, and federal governments, help our elected officials as they make critical decisions and allocate necessary resources for combating this pandemic. And finally, for those experiencing fear and anxiety, we pray for peace of mind. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Councilman Dethridge, thank you for that. Council, you received the agenda this evening. I would need a motion to approve the agenda to submit it.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Polgears.
Second. Second.
Second. I don't know. I can't see who.
This might be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, Councilwoman Knockhazel. How about that? Council, you've also received the minutes from the March the 2nd.
I can't hear the headphones.
Jason, you're maybe we need to mute Mr. Dudas. How about that? The minutes from the March the 2nd. Is there any corrections to those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Burns. Second, Mr. Steckel. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone oppose? All right, motion carries. Because we don't have any citizens and guests, we did post that questions or comments that we need to address for the city. Sharmily, was there any questions or concerns that were submitted by the citizens?
Mayor, we did not receive any emails or phone calls with concerns or questions.
Okay, so just continuing that if there's concerns or questions with our residents, if they would get a hold of the city. The city is still operational. However, the offices are closed, but we are still answering the phones and answering emails and running operations safe at home. So we'll go to the next past citizens and guests and go to the city attorney report. We have two, and the first would be a resolution for a Homeland Security and federal grant. And Mr. Chief Fuller, this is a $58,000 dollar grant. And they're at this point in time, this is not a matching grant. This is similar to things that we've passed in the past. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Claire, do you want to read this resolution?
Sure. We have resolution number 2020-03. The resolution of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, authorizing the mayor to apply for funds from and administered by the Kentucky Department of Homeland Security and Federal Emergency Management Agency for a power cot and load system.
All right. Is there any questions? Hearing none, there be a motion to.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Dethridge, second, Ms. Notkazel, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It was reported to me that maybe I didn't take a formal approval of the agenda. I just said, is anyone opposed to the agenda? Is that correct, Charmalee? She's tattling on me. Is there can we have a motion, Mr. Polgiers,
Motion to approve the agenda.
Burns, for the agenda going backwards?
Second.
All right, anyone opposed? All right, and we'll motion that, carry that motion to approve the agenda. Sorry about that. Sorry, Claire, going back,
Take the voice vote on that?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
This is so different. I'm out of my element here.
Out of the comfort zone.
It is. All
You're
right,
doing great,
Claire.
Mayor.
So we have a resolution 2020-04, and this is something that I believe that I've spoke with all of you about, that we would be bringing something to you, and we're trying to think out of the box. And Charmalee is trying to be creative and saying, how do we protect, some of our small businesses? And Charmalee, before we read this, do you want to update them?
Yes, so essentially what we're asking for here is your support in developing a small business loan or a grant program for our businesses. Many of you own small businesses or know people that do, and we all know that they're really struggling. Even though these federal grant programs are available through the Small Business Administration, we're hearing that it's going to take some time before our businesses get that money. So we are trying to come up with something that is going to get them, some amount of support fairly quickly with this program. As you know, we didn't really allocate these monies in the budget. However, we have gone back and checked, and we think we can provide up to $100,000 in support to our businesses. So some of the key points with this is that it will be a maximum of $2,500 per business, and it can be spent on things like rent and utilities or payroll. So we'll be a little bit specific about the types of things that it could be spent on. We do have to come up with a definition of small business, which we're thinking about 3 to 50 employees. They should have a occupational license for the city of Mitchell. These have to be businesses that are clearly impacted by the mandated closures or restrictions. So we know that these are the businesses that need our help. And they have to be in operation in the city for a certain period of time, whether it's 30 days, 60 days minimum. They've already been in the city and they're invested in the city. Another criteria that we're also thinking is to somehow tie it to the federal program so that we know that they have either explored or submitted an application or are in the process with the Small Business Administration for those other loans. So it's just an additional criteria that would kind of show that they are really in need of these funds. Also, no financial institutions or nonprofits would be allowed to apply for the funding. And so these are just some of the criteria that we've been thinking about. We've been working with Triad to administer the program for us. There are a few cities in Northern Kentucky that have looked at or have programs like this. So, we're not necessarily the first ones, but We want to get out there and kind of help our businesses. So with about $100,000 and a $2,500 max, we'll be able to help about 40 businesses. We can increase that amount if we want to do fewer businesses, and that's some conversation that we can have tonight. The other thing I wanted to also get some direction from you all on is doing a loan versus a grant. So a loan could be an interest-free loan for a certain amount of time. And if they come out of this within a year, we could forgive that loan, versus a grant that will basically just be, here's $2,500 to help with X, Y, and Z. You don't have to repay the city. So those are two options in ways in which we could do this loan or a grant. So I'd be looking for some discussion and direction from you all on that.
And I'd like to add a couple things too, because obviously I've had some discussion with Sharmali and Mayor Heeman on this. First and foremost, when it comes to the federal small business loans, that money is coming from a pot, and when that money is gone, it's gone. So I think what you're going to see is there's going to be a lot of small businesses miss out on this. So that's why I do think it's important that the city steps up and helps out with this. I've always viewed the city as having a role with economic development. So this is nothing more than an extension of that. So I think it's important we step up and try and help our small business owners as best we can. I think we all realize that, hey, as part of this too, the city's probably going to take a small hit budget wise on revenue. But at the same time, with some things that are going on, I think we're going to see that there's other areas where we're not spending money, such as recreation. So I think we can certainly make this work within our budget. Now, as far as the loan versus the grant, my opinion would be that we follow the federal the federal loan guidelines for small businesses that they're doing now. And essentially, that's a very low interest loan. There's certain things you can qualify for that you don't have to pay that loan back. So maybe that's how we look at it. I think one thing we discussed is, hey, you stay open for a year from now or 3 years from now. You're still open. You're still in Fort Mitchell. At that time, maybe you don't have to pay the loan back. So just my 2 cents.
Mr. Pogiers, if I could just expand on that. In speaking to some of our businesses, another idea that came up is that we could do, an interest-free loan, but within 120 days or 180 days, if a business submits some proof that they use the money towards rent or utilities or payroll,
Right.
that loan is forgiven.
Exactly
So,
right.
we could do something like that too.
Yeah, which I believe that's very similar to the federal guidelines. So I would fully agree with that.
I would also.
I would like to add in the criteria that, we want to make sure this is going to the small business owner in Fort Mitchell, not the chains, unless it's something that's franchised and owned and franchised locally.
Mhm.
We don't need it. I don't know. I don't want to pick on any national chains, but there's certain we just want it to go to the small people that are invested in the city of Fort Mitchell that are paying those high rents in the shopping centers and things like that.
Ultimately,
Ultimately, have we defined, if we can assist and support 40 businesses, I'm all for it. Being a local business owner in Fort Mitchell, we're also making the application for the federal money. And I agree with Mr. Polgiers and the way he relayed that. But do we know how many businesses in the city of Fort Mitchell meet our criteria so far?
Mr. Deathridge, I do not have that information. I'm pretty certain it's going to be far more than 40. So the way, but that leads to a good point that, the way we're going to have to do this is the first 40 eligible businesses that apply will be the ones to get it. Because we don't necessarily want to be in the business of picking and choosing between businesses. So long as we set very specific criteria and those businesses meet those criteria, we want to make the process easy for them.
Okay, thank you.
How
Sharma,
would we?
I'm
how
sorry,
would
go
we
ahead,
let
Mary.
the how would we let the businesses know that we're doing this?
Ms. Burns, we will be using our normal means of communication with this, but we will also be working with the Northern Kentucky Chamber and Triad on getting the word out. All our normal channels. We also have a business list. It's not all inclusive, but it's something that we've sort of collected over the years. So we'll be doing our best to get the word out in those ways.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
and Sharmali, have we, and I know you alluded to earlier, I believe you said 1 to 49, or how many employees are we looking at to define exactly what a small business is?
I was looking at 3 to 50, Mr. Polgers.
3 to 50? Okay.
Yeah. I know some other communities have used 3 to 100 employees, but just thinking about the size of our businesses and what would be considered
Right.
small, 3 to 50 seem to make sense.
I would agree. I know with the federal loan, I think it's anything under 500, which, sometimes it's hard to classify some of that as small business. So I think under 50 would be good.
And I think we need to define also if we want to define 3 to 50, or does that include the business owners themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I am certainly not aware of all the businesses, but all the ones that I'm thinking about, I would include the business owner too, because a lot of them are working to get out of this pandemic at this time. So I would go ahead and include the business owner as well.
Agreed.
So just to be clear, the resolution that we're getting ready to do it is broad, I mean, and vague into the fact that we are tightening this down and finalizing writing this. So what we're asking for is that, we can continue to negotiate, within the realm of the city's behalf to finalize something for small businesses. And ultimately, Councilman Deathridge, you and I had a conversation that, when people back, they want to say, hey, look at what Fort Mitchell, council did for us. And we want to stay here and we want to be part of this community. And hopefully it does help somebody, out and offset some of the expenses to keep them here. That's the goal. So,
Mayor,
Thank you,
Heeman, if I-
Sharmali, for thinking of this.
yeah.
You're welcome. Mayor Heeman, if I could just add one more thing on the timeline. We think it's really important to get this program out as soon as possible because we know they are needing the money right now. So just in terms of a general timeline, we're hoping to have this up and running by this Friday and then start accepting applications immediately thereafter. Triad will probably need a day or two to review those applications. And then our hope is that by the end of next week, we're cutting checks. So we're looking at this in a very short time frame to kind of get it in the hands of our business owners.
So,
As Mayor Heeman stated, this can be, it is broad. I know that there's still some things we're working through. I would ask if you all would certainly keep us abreast if anything unforeseen comes up or new information comes to light. With that being said, certainly, I trust what you all are doing and what we as a council are doing here, because this is important for our businesses. So,
good. Claire, did we explain all that well enough again to finalize a resolution?
Yes, and I think when I saw the resolution, the language is broad, but that is because this is a program that we're developing and trying to move forward as quickly. But it does state that that there will be criterion developed and things like that Sharmali alluded to. So this is a resolution from council pretty much authorizing the creation of this new program and loan or grant program, however you phrase it. So are you guys ready for the reading now?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution number 2020-04. It's a resolution of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, authorizing the development of a small business loan or grant program to assist small businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Resolution 2020-04. I would need a motion from council.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Deathridge,
I'll second.
second. Mr. Polgears, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone oppose? Like sign? All right, motion carries. So thank you, and we will be getting this out right away. And thank you. I think the businesses will be very happy with at least our push and some type of support that we can give them. So Okay, Claire, I think you're finished with the city attorney's report. So I have kind of a lengthy mayor's report, and I'll try to go as fast as I can. Our first part of this is I did an executive order 2020-09 declaring surplus of our fire truck, which was our ladder apparatus. And as stated before, we've had a lot of success. The city of Fort Mitchell, not just with me as mayor, but multiple times have we used our apparatus instead of refunctioning that to some other commercial use, that it could continue to save lives. And the city of Auburn, Kentucky, has asked us to donate that fire truck to continue in this county, in Auburn, where Auburn resides. And is that Logan, Adam? That Logan County?
Yes, it is Logan County.
And this would be the second, and just think about this. This is unbelievable. The second ladder truck in the entire county. So how useful, not only from an ISO rating, but a life saving rating, and to be able to do that. So I'm asking to vote on an executive order declaring this surplus property. Also with Public Works, there's a truck and additional equipment that had been placed on there that is no longer used. The Public Works would actually go on Gov Deals, and we would sell that, but the life-saving equipment and such, to be able to donate that to the city. So in the past, for surplusing, we've asked a motion from council and to vote on that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Ms. Knockhazel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? And any comments so that everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay. Going through, I'm really excited. If you watch the governor, I've known about this for a little bit, and he made the announcement today that in the entire state of Kentucky, the second drive-through in the entire state is going to be in Kenton County. It will be open starting this Wednesday, and it will be at Summit View Academy, and it will be Wednesday through Saturday, and that's it. And then it's going to move. It's going to change, and I don't know what county. It could go to Boone, it could go to Pendleton, it could go to Grant, it could go down in Kentucky. But the best part about this is that based upon the different needs or criterias, this is going to be the next one, and it is going to again open this Wednesday. It's going to go through 250 tests per day. So that we are very excited for the governor, and Judge Knockelman really worked hard on this, and Steve Hensley with Homeland Security, and we really just want to thank them for getting this up here. And again, it will be up here temporarily, and then hopefully we can get it back. But at some point maybe it will come back. But I am excited. The governor mentioned tonight that I'm pulling up my notes. We are at 2,048 cases, 84 new cases today. And I just want to mention, there's obviously quite a bit in Kenton County, and we've had several in the city of Fort Mitchell. We've also had a death in Fort Mitchell, 7 new deaths, 104 deaths total. The city building is in green, and it continues to be and represent for the governor and for the state of Kentucky, that in remembrance and togetherness as a state, and it will be lit up in green and continue to do that. So I want to make note that is the up-to-date information regarding that as of 6 o'clock tonight. So with that being said, our first responders that have to do this every day, I continue to pray for them. And, our struggles of really implementing things in place to keep our personnel safe. Chief Fuller and Chief Sherberg have done a great job, and it has been a lot of different meetings, and it's changing daily, sometimes by the hour, of things and how it's evolved. And both of them have done just an unbelievable job, and my hat goes off to them and saying thanks. We continue to do weekly conference with the mayor's group in the county, led by Judge Knockelman. Last week, we had an update by Garen Colvin from St. Elizabeth about the amount of what their protocols and collaboration and information. So that weekly call continues to happen, and I will continue to update you as needed. As you know, our parks, and for people listening, our parks are still open. Our parks in the community to be able to walk and to be able to utilize that, but our playgrounds, our basketball courts and things closed for the safety, but there are trails. There's opportunities to get out. And again, for your mental and physical well-being, I just please ask you to continue to do that, but keep your social distancing and keeping your inner circle close. Our offices, as I mentioned before, our offices still remain open, but we are limited as far as who is in the staff. We are limiting the crossover staff, meaning that sometimes we have Rhonda come in and nobody else is there, and she would input bills or anything else, and then Casey comes back at a different day, or Amy a different day, Sharmalee and such. So we're not having a lot of crossover or any contamination. So doing that. Something that's big on Facebook is Best Way. For their safety, you know, they've asked that no yard waste or any garbage that is not in cans. So to be clear, they want it to be in a can, and they will take a can that is an outdoor can, even if it's not a Best Way can. They will still be able and safely be able to use that and pick up that handle. It is posted on Facebook, what we've been able to negotiate with them. And part of it is there's a dumpster located in the back of the city building. Tonight it was delivered. It is for yard debris. It is not for tires or large rubbish items or anything else, food or regular garbage, but anything else that you would want to throw away, it's going to be there. As it fills up, we will replace that. That you can rent a can for $3 a month, and that's been there. That's been in since we've wrote into the contract. But if you want an extra can, or if you have some type of special thing that it's really filled up, they will come back. You got to contact them and they will pick up and do a special pickup, as long as it's not every week or anything else. But if you have something that you need to coordinate with them, today I went out and met my driver. I had a couple bags that I needed to do after he emptied the garbage can. I refilled it as he stood there, and he was able to dump it, and they'll work with you. So I just wanted to mention that Best Way is continuously working with us, and having that dumpster up there hopefully helps offset the yard waste and such.
I'm hearing on Facebook, though, that when people called for a special pickup, they're charging for that, even though they said they weren't. I saw a couple of people comment that, Sharmalee.
Wow.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be the case. So I have reached back out to them, and I will make sure that's clarified with them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will. They've been kind of disappointing on ever changing their minds, and so we will continue to try to work with that. So thanks for the information. The last two things. Senate Bill 249. I think I really want to just say thank you to Senator McDaniel. He really pushed for that, and Senator McDaniel was able to continue to help us with Senate Bill 249, freezes the CERS payments of what we had. So no increase going into our new budget year. We know we're going to have a little, and we planned for that, right? We planned for it to increase, but we already know our payroll and taxes are going to go be hurt from the businesses. So, you know, him freezing the CERS rates and the Senate doing that is really going to help us. So I want to make sure that council knew about that. And the last thing is our census and how important our census is tied to everything that we have. Anytime we ask for our schools, for our roads, for any monies, it's all tied to the census. Our currently Fort Mitchell census is 56.4% participation, 56%. So Kentucky's average right now is 49%, so we are above average, but you know, we really need to get this up to the 80s, you know, to be realistic. Obviously, we want as close to 100%, but we need to increase that. We will be doing a drive on our Facebook and platforms, but it's made it really hard. Census workers would typically go start knocking on doors and meeting with people and trying, and you can't do that now. So doing the best that we can as we start pushing that out, please share that information out on the social media and talk to your neighbors or friends and make sure that they filled out their census paperwork. So that's probably been the longest mayor's report that I've ever had. So I will move on, and City Administrator Sharmali, you got a report?
Really just two things, Mayor. One, I wanted to echo your comments about thanking our first responders for all that they're doing for our residents. Also, our public works and admin staff that has basically, readapted to all the changes in a fairly short amount of time and doing everything they can to keep the city moving. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of them. Also, thank you to our volunteers that pulled together Arbor Day in essentially 24 to 48 hours. It was about 800 trees that were bagged and given away on Saturday morning. So it was pretty incredible. So I just wanted to thank Stacy Grabo, Anna Kirshner, Craig Grabo, and Nicole Clemens for pulling that event together. And that's all I had, ma'am.
All right, any questions for Sharmali? Put her on the spot. All
We
right.
know where to find her.
Under comments from council, I'd like to say Councilman McVeigh had a great idea, and Chief Sherberg and I are working on this with McVeigh about a united message, blending in some of what the state and what our government is doing about staying safe and being at home, and some crucial people throughout the city. And some of you have sent in some videos, and we want to get this out by the end of the week or first of next week, but we are working on that. And I think it was a great idea. So Councilman McVeigh, I don't know if you have anything to say with that, with going in comments from council, but I think it's going to be a great thing.
I don't really have much to say on that. Just hopefully it just drives home the same message we're all trying to, get out there. So just another venue.
Good. Thank you. Any other comments for council?
Yeah, just I'll update you all on PDS real quick. So I am on the PDS management board now. As many of you know, if you don't know, the PDS executive director has announced his retirement. So although COVID-19 has delayed things a little bit, we currently are in the process of conducting interviews. So we just completed the first round on Friday. So we have a management board meeting coming up this Thursday. So we will be discussing next steps and how we're going to conduct the second round of interviews. Secondly, and most importantly, I know Sharmali and Jude have both kind of hit on this already with our chief of police and first responders. And I want to thank them again for the great job they're doing under, some certainly adverse times. And then also too, I want to really thank Sharmali and Jude. I know you all are spending a lot of your time in conference calls, gathering information, whatnot, regarding COVID-19, and you all have done a great job of not only gathering that information but disseminating it to us, your council. So thank you all for that.
Any other members of council? All right. Department head reports. Let's start with the first responders. Chief Fuller, you have anything?
Just briefly, I want to say thank you to everyone for your support. It's been very good. We've lots of changes in the last few weeks, so it has been a constant change. Just some real quick notes. I did not get the council report out to everybody. It was not in the packets. But just real quickly, we did have 151 runs for the month of March. 93 of those were in Fort Mitchell. All of our trucks have been renumbered and relettered to a new stripe package. It came with the new utility truck that has been received. It is in service. 3 of our members will be receiving an award from the American Heart Association for a stroke patient run they made. Paul Griffith, Kyle Kilby, and Melina Schuler. They'll be getting an award for basically they transported a stroke patient, and this award is for the amount of time it took from the arrival at the hospital until the patient received advanced treatment. It was 22 minutes, which is a pretty rapid time to turn around for a stroke patient. And that's really all I have.
Chief Fuller, you kind of hit on it a little bit, but you and even Councilman McVeigh, the city history with our apparatus, to having truck 10 and an engine 1 and engine 3. This is something that's been with us forever, and that we kind of took the high road and how important it was to have to change that apparatus. Can you just get into that a little bit?
Sure. So, we obviously have the infrastructure built for a regional radio system. With that, obviously, the interoperability, being able to communicate police, fire, public works, everyone on one channel is a very big advantage that we've not had in the past. So right now, currently, the city of Fort Mitchell, the city of Covington, and now the airport would all have the same similar apparatus numbers. And even within Fort Mitchell, our unit numbers, previously we had Medic 14 and 16, which were known on the radio as Fort Mitchell 14, Fort Mitchell 16. We also had police units that were Fort Mitchell 14 and Fort Mitchell 16, along with some other duplicate numbers there. So it kind of made sense for us to look at that and make a change. We are obviously the smaller of the agencies involved in that discussion. So the decision was made that we would be the ones that would renumber our apparatus, basically with the thought process of it assists with the regional system when everybody has true interoperability, and it also avoids the duplicate numbers within even our own city. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of it.
Yep. It is a sad day. One aspect that, we did that, especially with all the history that's been part of it, but ultimately it was the right thing to do for the county and for our city. So thank you. Chief Sherberg.
I sent you all an email with the report for March numbers. Overall, our call volume dropped from March of 2019. And actually, if you take a look at just the last 7 days of March from 2019 to 2020, it's about a 40% drop in call volume. And a lot of that has to do with, a lot of the self-initiated activity that we've intentionally backed away from a bit as it relates to COVID-19. And we also, I think, have seen a drop in our dispatched calls as well. We have seen, so it was about a 40% drop, I said, in the last week. We have seen about a 42% increase if you look at March 13th to April 13th in domestic violence calls. That's kind of on par with what's being seen across the nation right now. We have Aletha Brown is still in the field training process, which usually involves riding around with another officer in the same car for about 16 weeks. And we did start out that way. However, we have actually modified that now. So she's in her own car, but being followed around by her training officer. Not an ideal situation. We really do like that interaction that the two officers get in a car during the field training program, but we think right now it's the right thing to do for just health reasons for both of them. We've been monitoring our PPE supplies. We've been working with the fire department on that. We've been able to, make some purchases together and keep our supply levels, I think, pretty reasonable at this point. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything that we're critically low on as of this minute, but that can change from time to time. And certainly we'd like to have, the biggest stockpile we can not selfishly have, I guess, at this point, if that makes sense. Other than that, I will give, first of all, I'll say thank you to all the people who said thank you on here, and I'll thank my team. I made the decision last week that Detective Stoles and myself would start working from home to kind of be a healthy reserve for the department in case we have a shift that gets sick. But our officers are out there every day and still trying to respond to obviously all the calls they get, and also try to be as visibly present as possible. And I think that's one of the important messages is just because we're not making as many traffic stops or we're not making as many proactive calls, we're still out there patrolling, and perhaps really because we're a little slower, we're actually even more visible than we normally would be. So it's not a free for all time for criminals. We are out there and keeping an eye on things. So hopefully people feel safe. Obviously we can still be reached by all the normal methods of reaching us, but thanks to the mayor, Charmley, council, everybody for the support, and also the community. We've had tons of meals drop off at the office, and that's just very nice of people. I will give one other quick thank you, and that is to my mom's cousin, Nancy Connor, who, when I reached out and asked for some masks for our officers, she put together some custom masks for us. And then she would not let me pay for them either. So thanks to her, all the officers have a nice cloth mask now as well.
Nice.
Very
Great job.
good. Any questions for the chief? Chief Sherberg, I hope you can get a haircut soon.
Yeah, like I said earlier, by next month's meeting, it'll be the only thing you see on my camera. I cut my two sons' hair on my own. I'm not willing to try mine.
So
As
I'm
Greg
gonna
says,
go.
hold my beard.
Councilman Polgers and I are gonna have a contest.
We are, buddy. It's going to be interesting.
Sherman Lee, I need to go to our last first responders. Well, we found out when we were looking at doing some workers' comp and different things, what an essential business is, what essential people are. And we found out that we have another group that's actually labeled through Kentucky League of Cities is our first responders are considered public works. Is that right?
That's right. The Department of Labor has included Public Works as first responder.
So there you go, Matt. Your group is the hero.
Finally, some street cred. Unintended.
Not
It had
keep
to
the
take
red
a
lights on the
major
truck.
pandemic for me to get some, so I'll take it however I get it.
And it didn't even snow, so.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of street cred.
What do you got for us?
Just a quick update on our 3 projects that are the hottest ones right now. What I'm calling the driveway project, the department, the fire department, the half of the driveway in front of the older part of the building, all of that pavement's being replaced. The sidewalk, curb and gutter from Highland all the way up to Silver on the one side of the highway. And the contractor is a little bit delayed in getting started. They were going to start last week, but they've had a little trouble keeping their staff full. But anyway, that'll be starting hopefully later this week. And we'll be coordinating with the fire department to make sure certainly their access to their bays and everything is not disrupted, and make sure that's absolutely priority as it has been from the planning for the start of that project. Ridge and West Orchard, there's the reconstruction of those 2 streets and the water main replacement, some storm sewer work. I believe we're ready to move forward with awarding that project to Rigler Construction, and so we can get them started. Originally, they had planned to start June 1st. They submitted that schedule before the pandemic, and they have the opportunity to start a little bit earlier. So we're working to get that through so they can get going and keep their workers working and just keep that part of the economy going as well. Highland Avenue, the resurfacing and spot improvements. Amy, did we get that to the paper, or where did we go with that? I that was in some doubt at the end of last week. Do you,
No, I haven't heard back from you guys on that.
okay.
So as soon as I
There
hear.
was there's a few things we added at the end of that, but anyway, that's very soon. That will be advertised so we can get the resurfacing. The things that were added, there was, we decided to add some storm sewer at the end of Highland near Long Meadow. If Councilman Deathridge, I'm sure you can attest, there's water that drips, runs out from the one corner of Long Meadow and Highland, and where we've got to add some pipe all the way down to the next drain to carry that out. So we did not have that included before. But anyway, that project, will be getting that going and advertised as soon as we can, hopefully this week, and get that started. It depends on how busy the contractors are, but May or June, as soon as we can reasonably get it moving. We have a couple of other small improvement projects as well that are in the works, but the details of those are, we'll save that for another time.
So Matt, you mentioned going back with Ridge. Let's start with Ridge. We have to meet with all the residents, and typically we would have a meeting down on site, or we would host a meeting at the city building and things, if people, of all the addresses that are touching that. What is our plan to do that?
We're going to have a meeting similar to what we're having right now. We're going to send a postcard to all the residents there, inviting them to the meeting, put a few signs up on the streets, and have a similar meeting to what we're doing right now. And that's in the works for getting that meeting together. So we'll have to get together with Wrigler to find out what their schedule is, when they plan to start, and make sure we have that meeting and have resident input, obviously, prior to that.
And for council, just as a reminder, in front of the bays, as Matt was talking about that's the area, we're bringing that all the way up to Silver and putting that curb and gutter. It's going to really relieve a lot of that water on Dixie Highway. So I know people will start talking, what are we doing? What is this all for? It's more than just the concrete in front of those bays, but that curb and gutter on Dixie Highway will be a big change, and I think it'll really help out a lot of that water. So just as you get questions, just wanted to remind you, I know we talked about it before, but.
Mayor, to add to that, there's a trench drain that is along the front of the newer portion of concrete in front of the ambulance bays, where we're extending that trench drain. So the fire department, warmer months, they certainly wash the trucks out on the driveway, and it runs down along Dixie Highway. That'll be caught with the trench drain. Anything that bypasses the trench drain will have a gutter pan on that side of the highway. So both of those things will help keep the water off the road.
Right. And then, yeah, Highland Avenue, I can't express enough, just hurry, hurry, hurry. They've lived through a lot. So any questions for Matt? All right, hearing none. Amy, what do you got for us?
There was something in a KLC article that says there was an administrative, I don't know if it was an executive order, but they're going to be delaying the property tax procedures by 60 days. So that will affect us, and we won't be able to collect the taxes, with the normal October 31st deadline. So we will probably have to change our ordinance, I would think. Or maybe it's, something else, but just to change those due dates.
Okay. So we don't have to worry about it now until we figure out what that new due date is. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Any questions for Amy? One thing that we don't have here is Janie. Janie's last day Friday. And so Amy and I and Charmalee are working on kind of a job description. She was in a great way. She was a catch-all. I mean, she just really could do a lot of different things from from not only the recreation, but the communication portion of it. And we're trying to look at that. We're looking at how does parks involve in this a little bit. We talked to Kyle, so we are working on that and trying to figure out what that job description, and be publishing that here probably within the next 30 days. I think it would be something realistic, but I just want to really say, yeah, I'm excited for her to go on to her next adventure, but she did a lot and she will be very missed. So as a department head, so I'm going to thank Janie. Department head, and I don't have anything else. Is there anything else anybody has? Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Mr. Steckel, second.
I'll
Mr.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Have a safe night, and anyone oppose? All right, motion carries. Be safe, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate
care.
everybody's help.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Is that Marley, Kim?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, Jason, TB and K, good job. We're clear. Thank you very much.
Jason, thank you
Thank you,
all.
guys. Please,
Bye
everybody,
now.
stay safe, okay? Thank you, guys.